if you're always thinking, do not die, do not die, do not die, do not die, you're in a war zone. That stress is the bigger killer long term than eating a little bit of crap from time to time.
You are called the leading biohacker in Europe.
I got to about 30 and I started having gut problems, kidney stones and urinary tract infections and frequent urination. I was in the doctor's, said to him, doctor, what's going on? He said, well, we can't find anything wrong.
On my side, I don't want to create a legacy. I'm like you. I want to start a movement that people will remember. But I don't care if they remember my name. Tim Gray, thank you for joining. I'm so happy to have you. It's been a long time that we've been chasing each other, trying to connect. So I'm glad that you're coming to this podcast at the same time for the interview for Biohackers magazine, on which you're going to be on the cover. It's an honor for our magazine to have you. You are called the leading biohacker in Europe, and you're aiming now to be the leading biohacker in the world, coming to United States.
Thanks. I would say I'm the UK's leading biohacker, and there are better biohackers out there than me, I think, some of my colleagues, but we all have a different flavor. So yes, but thank you for saying, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We want to know about your story. This is one of the most important things that people don't realize. Is okay, everybody is calling himself a biohacker today, but most of the biohackers are just young biohacker or starter biohackers. But you've been a biohacker for quite a while, and we want to know why. Why did you become a biohacker? Why are you a biohacker? And what is a biohacker, by the way?
Thanks for all those. I'll start off very basically. I had been focused on business pretty much my whole adult life, ever since I started my first company when I was 22, 23. Work hard, play hard mentality, work during the day, work my nuts off. And then on the weekend, on a Saturday, I'd go out and get drunk and spend Sunday hungover. And I would always say that, when people said, oh, how do you deal with stress? I was like, oh, I just go out and get drunk once a week. Little did I know that compounding, and also smoking from the age of 16 through 26, really stressed my body more than I realized. And when we're young, teens through to late 20s, we seem indestructible because our immune systems are freshly conditioned, our livers aren't overburdened, and everything in between. So I got to about 30 and I started having gut problems and kidney stones and urinary tract infections and frequent urination. And I'm talking 30 to 50 times a day I was going pee. So I was scared of drinking, which then, when you have kidney stones, causes even more of a problem. And there wasn't internet influencers on Instagram. There was only Dr. McCullough and McCullough.com and Dr. Josh Axe. Pretty much in those days, functional medicine was in its infancy, and all I could find was loads of supplements online, and I just tested loads of stuff. And like a true business person, I guess I got to the point where I couldn't really leave the house that much because I had IBS and frequent urination. And I thought there must be a way out of this. So I grabbed a pack of Post-it notes and wrote all the symptoms on them, stuck them up on the wall, put them into cause and effect, and figured out, traced it all back to one thing. Which was mercury poisoning, of all things.
Oh.
I had 7 metal fillings. I'd been eating sushi for breakfast, lunch, and dinner pretty much every day. Raw sushi, I have to add, which obviously carries parasites and various other things, which can cause all sorts of problems, which is not a good idea. And I later on found out that there was genetics involved in this, which is when the whole DNA testing thing got more popular. And I'm talking 2012, 13, 14. And I realized that I had 2 of the MTHFR gene variations, which means I don't detoxify properly, which means I don't produce energy properly, and various other things. Long story short, I heard about bulletproof coffee about 2015, and adding this butter into your coffee and oil, which tasted bloody fantastic. I then Googled bulletproof coffee, heard about Dave Asprey. I realized that I had been a biohacker for 4 or 5 years without realizing there was such a thing as a biohacker. The strategic
Mhm.
approach to optimizing your health using data. I was tracking 30 to 40 different metrics a day in a spreadsheet, such as sleep, subjectively, energy, bowel movements, urine pH, blah, 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 all this stuff. And I was like, holy crap, I'm a biohacker like Mr. Asprey. Um, and then I realized I had chronic fatigue, and that had been going a long time from all the stress from having the kidney stones and everything. And I was really in a fatigue state. And while I was operating in my company, running it still, I wasn't thriving. I then heard about hyperbaric oxygen therapy on Dave's podcast and decided to try it out. There was nowhere in London that had it. So I decided to open up a clinic, which then became London's first private hyperbaric oxygen clinic. And that got full up very quickly. And luckily, I owned a marketing agency, which funded all the marketing to grow awareness of hyperbaric in the UK, which meant we had a full up clinic, which was fantastic. And it meant that I could pretty much live in a hyperbaric chamber, or when I say at least an hour or two a day. And then I built another company, which was now known as the Health Optimization Summit, pretty much from a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, with the post-it notes again on the inside of the plastic screen, and typing away, building the conference from the chamber. So that spans now pretty much 12 years of optimizing. A turning point, there was two turning points. One was I was in the doctors back in 2013 and said to him, doctor, what's going on? I'm not well. And he said, well, we can't find anything wrong.
10
So
years ago.
yeah, 12 years
Yep.
ago. And he shrugged his shoulders. And it had been, the funny thing is, I'd been in the doctors that week every single day. I got to know
Mhm.
the receptionist by first name basis. In fact, I could text them and say, I'm coming in. And in the UK, if you're in the UK, you know that booking an NHS GP appointment isn't that easy. So that's how much, of a relationship I had with the doctor's surgery. The second turning point was when I actually got a lot better and I'd fixed the IBS and kidney stones and urinary tract infections and things. I realized that I'd been operating before I got sick at probably 65, 70%. And that with biohacking, measuring sleep, measuring brain performance, and various other things, that I could actually optimize it and get it into the later 90s. And that's really where I feel like my consciousness as a human really got to the point where I could see the world around me. It was almost
Yeah.
like the Matrix when Neo
Yeah.
dodges the fight. It's almost like, wow, I've up leveled my energy, my consciousness, and I'm very happy with that. So I've continued buying hacking ever since. One caveat is, like humans, we often go wrong, and I have been working on some chronic health issues over the last few years, which are viral based. Um, but I always see that as a gift because it holds me accountable on a daily basis to do the best I can possibly do to optimizing my health, opposed to losing motivation and letting it slip. That's my journey. That's where I am today. I'm known for the Health Optimization Summit, which obviously, as you know, is around three and a
Yeah.
half, 4,000 people now in
Yeah.
London,
It's
coming
the
to
biggest
Austin.
in the world. Anyway, no question about it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just following the fun and trying to connect everyone and share the best information that there is in the world, so that people don't have to go through the crap I went through,
Yeah, but
knowing
tell
that.
me about this crap you went through because so the story is interesting because several biohacker in the world they became biohacker because they had a struggle with their health or a health issue or something. I'm a biohacker for 23 years and I had no issues, knocking on wood, but I was a biohacker because I wanted to optimize everything that was around me. And I was doing the same as you, taking notes and the spreadsheets and everything. Um, have you felt in the process of being that biohacker to the extreme any setback, any negative impact of being a biohacker?
Ha,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So everything I do has a risk to reward consideration these days. Some early days of peptides, I was just like, yeah, I'm going to inject this. I'm just going to do that. There are various things I've done. For instance, I went to see Dr. John Lawrence in Sarasota, Florida, about 6 months ago, because I'd had prostate inflammation for years on and off. And I think this is directly linked to gut, but that's another story. Now, I heard about his ProstaBlue procedure, which is ultrasound guided methylene blue ozone and targeted antibiotics directly into the prostate via your front,
Ouch.
through the
I feel
bladder.
the pain.
Well, this is the thing. I asked for ketamine as my painkiller. And
Oh,
I'm a fan of ketamine because I've used it for self work for a long time. So I had 50 milligrams, I think it was, IV, which hit me pretty quickly. So I left the planet. I didn't even know what was going on at the time. No pain, completely out of body experience. And then as I was coming back down, they said, "Oh, how are you feeling? Are you sore?" And I said, "A little bit sore." So I said, "Can I have some more?" So they gave me another 50 milligrams. And I left the planet. I saw the divine. I realized that there was a higher power. And I thought I was on a resuscitation table because I could hear the beep, 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 beep. Anyway, long story short is 15 minutes later, I came out of it and I realized that no, I was just high in ketamine, and there was the doctor that had done the procedure on me standing next to me, taking notes, waiting for me to come out. So the point is it wasn't painful. But while I was on that table thinking that something had gone wrong, I was like, dude, you've gone too far this time.
oh,
But the thing is, after, and when I was back on the earth again, it's one of the best things that I've done for actually, out of many things I've done, because the methylene blue and the antibiotics and ozone into the prostate actually significantly reversed issues that I've been dealing with for quite some time, for 10 years almost. So there is sometimes where you can be a little bit out there and push it a little bit far and then regret it. But in this case, I didn't regret it, but at the time I was questioning it. The other area where it can actually hinder you, not just, thinking it at the time, was you can become so fixated on, the right supplement, when to
correct.
take your 5-HTP, or if
Well,
what your dose of testosterone replacement
right.
therapy is, whatever. You can become so fixated on that in fact you're in a war zone, always stressing about what you're doing wrong. And I think early day biohackers get in it, they feel a lot better. And it's actually the same with vegans and carnivores, which I include them to be the same, except for what they choose to put in their mouth, is they become hyper alert and stressed about the stuff they're putting in their body. That stress is the bigger killer long term than actually just eating a little bit of crap from time to time. And I remember being on holiday with a friend of mine, and we had some rice and some meat. And he asked the waiter, "Is this margarine or butter?" And while the waiter went away to go and check, he was freaking out. "This might be margarine. This might be margarine. Oh my god!" It's like, dude, just enjoy the rice. It might be, it might not be, but this stress right now is hurting you more than the
Then
margarine.
the product
Make sure,
itself. Right.
just make sure you're more careful in future.
Yeah.
So I would say learning to regulate your nervous system,
Yeah, man.
to learn to stress less and be less fixated, but still have excellence, knowing the long term goal, is one of the best biohacks and also the biggest downfall.
Explain me this. The downfall. Learning more. Knowing more. I think that you are someone that knows pretty much everything on every single product and every aspect of biohacking. Sometimes, well, when I look at your Instagram, that is very attractive because you talk about so many products. Um, my personal opinion, some days I feel like, oh my God, you're scaring me with some stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think just to touch on that point, it's a valid point. The thing is my job has always been, since I decided to do the conference, to educate people on what biohacking is. They don't need to know what biohacking actually is as a label to that point, because when you hear biohacking, you think, oh, it's a bit extreme. But the thing is, by doing a post on Coca-Cola, or why to
Toilet
avoid,
paper.
toilet paper, face wipes, like whatever, any of these things, that reaches the general population. And
Right.
they go, "Oh, actually, I didn't realize that drinking Coca-Cola is actually bad for me." You would think in this space it's obvious, but to some people it's not. So I reach everyone, 99% of the population. In fact, I did a survey on Oxford Street back in 2018, and it was asking people if they wanted to biohack themselves. And I had less than 1/10 of a percent. Okay. So 1,000th
Yeah,
of a percent say, no, I don't know what it is.
correct.
I had 94% of people said, when I asked them, do you want to optimize your health? 94% of people, this is before the pandemic, said yes. 5% of people said, I would like to optimize a loved one. And 1% of people were busy London workers, push you out of the way. So that tells you there's a 99% exposure rate for optimizing one's health before COVID versus 1/10 of a percent. Now, the thing is biohacking and health optimization are very similar. I would say that health optimization incorporates a bit more nature and a lot less products, but that's probably because of my UK centric approach versus the US centric.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
We're extreme on that in the US. Yeah,
and I think the point is my job is to reach everyone, and it may scare people from time to time, as in like, oh crap, I now have to think about that. But I always caveat it with pick your poison.
yeah.
I use gel. I use the usual German high quality super glue gel,
You should
which goes on
not.
my hand every day, and it annoys the crap out of me. And I'm still trying to find a hair gel that is actually non-toxic. But this is one poison that I do pick.
Yeah,
Do I drink plastic bottled water?
yeah,
No, very, very rarely. But if I'm out and about and I'm thirsty, I'm not going to dehydrate. I'm going to hydrate, obviously. So I don't stress about it too much. And I think the approach with my Instagram is if you don't know the work or my work, you think that, oh my God, this guy must be perfect doing all of these things all of the time, 100%. No, it's not true. I'm telling people what they could be doing or what they could be looking out for so they can navigate the world accordingly. And it might be that their poison is, I love a Coca-Cola straight after the gym, after a workout. I love the flavor. I need the sugar, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, fine. You do you, dude. It might be that they're perfect in every other element.
right.
I do think Coca-Cola is probably one of the most stupid things you can do, but at
Yeah,
the same
I
time,
am seeing with you.
no
But
judgment if you do. So yeah, I hope that explains why
yeah,
some people might be.
yeah, I got that, and I know you now. But yeah, I'm still always like very scared about our society today. Our society is so driven by influencers and information and misinformation and too much information. So I'm trying to put myself in the feet of the average Joe that is trying to optimize his health because he trusts the process and he's listening to what is out there, and he goes like, oh, okay, I cannot use this pan to cook my eggs, and I cannot use this oil to cook my steak, and then I cannot go to the bathroom because I can't use that toilet paper. What should I do? And they feel like so lost in the process. Um, but this is not the 99% of the population you are talking about. It's probably a part of the population that is aware that biohacking exists, but still not aware of the extreme of what we can see or not see or look at and inform. And for that part of the population, I'm always like, how how they're going to be reacting to all these things? How, yeah,
I mean, I get fear mongering, got called fear mongering all the time. But the thing is like, if you knew something was poisoning your kid,
good,
wouldn't you want the choice to know?
yeah, good,
Okay.
yeah,
So it's not fear mongering, it's telling you like how to be better,
yeah,
how to navigate the world better. Look at asbestos. Once upon a time, it was in schools. Look what we know it does now. Wouldn't you want to know about asbestos or something like that? And people might say, oh, well, Coca-Cola isn't the same as asbestos. Yeah, but you know what it does to your gut? And do you know what that does to your nutrient uptake? And do you know what that does to your immune system over a period of time? And do you know what that does to your insulin levels? Do you know what that does for pre-diabetes? Like, come on. That's just one thing. Imagine what your day is like with makeup, cleaners, everything around you. This stuff adds up and you're putting a total burden on the body. So just try to minimize what you can. And then I don't think that's fear mongering. It's like, don't be a hermit, just know how to navigate the world.
yeah. It is true. Well, I still believe that some women should wear makeup It's always better because without the, you're not that nice.
Wow. I mean, I think I'm actually a fan of makeup free, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that some people have skin conditions and some
Mm.
people feel more comfortable with it and things like that. But I do think I think the bigger point is more there are healthier alternatives like mineral based makeups, which don't have, nasty fragrances with up to 300
Correct.
chemicals in on your skin that where your skin's sweating and you're absorbing it all day long.
Yeah.
Women are, I think there was a statistic where women are subjected to over 400 chemicals a day, not men, women, because of all the products that they're using. And, you just have to
Yeah.
look at, you
Yeah.
know,
But
the females' suitcases when they go on holiday to know how many products that they use. I mean, it's more products than clothes. Usually the clothes are about this big.
yeah, that's true.
But no, but the point is I think all of these things is just make better choices.
Yeah, I agree. That's the thing. For long, science has been showing and telling people that the skin doesn't absorb much of the chemicals from the environment, and they were saying like your skin is your barrier to everything. Now we know that the skin absorbs even more than what you can ingest in your mouth. So it's a
Mm.
different story, and I'm with you on that. I believe that we should be chemical free on our skins and avoid all the uh, toxicity that is coming from.
I mean, I try to use clean products. For
Okay.
instance, the face wipes I buy are bamboo based with water, no nasty chemicals, which the normal ones are. If I use a lip balm, it's generally coconut oil, not one of the brands that actually have a chemical in there that dries your lips out that makes you have more lip balm.
Crazy. Yeah.
Which is just seems unethical.
Yeah.
If I use, for instance, skin cream, I actually have a tallow based with peptide cream. Actually, there's a really good new brand come out of Europe somewhere called Mythos, Mythos, no affiliation,
Okay. And
which
check
is
on that.
fantastic. And they do like a face mask as well for men specifically, and a few other things. So that's really like there's some great new brands popping up actually that help us navigate this. I think there's a little bit more done for the female.
I want to
Stuff.
take you on that. Actually, great topic. Let's jump on that. There is so many great brands coming up and popping up
Mm,
with products that are clean, but the company are very small and they cannot get into the market.
mm.
How do you help them to get out there?
That's a great question, actually. I would say it really just depends on. mm, it depends on whether the product is excellent. Because, okay, this is one thing I've learned over the last 5 or 6 years in this space is money drives innovation, but money also drives more product.
Uh-huh.
And if you look at some of the things that come out, I look at it and I'm like, that is not needed. That is just to make money. It's not someone going, I've got this life saving new piece of technology that's going to save lives. It's like, oh, I like that idea. I'm going to make money from it. And those are generally the brands I don't work with. The ones that I do try or use are ones that are actually coming in to solve a problem and not creating a problem to solve it, which is, classic marketing trick from these brands that
Yeah.
sell, hundreds of millions on Facebook and Instagram.
Right.
And I think I like to support them. There's a few small brands that wanted to come to my summit, and I helped them out by giving them a special reduced rate. And we actually have a startup booth area now at our conference, so that it's very accessible for them and gives them a lot of brand awareness. In fact, there was one brand like this in 2019, and you'll know the brand straight away. They came to me and I said, well, I'd like you to exhibit. And this is year one, not 2019. And they said, well, we're not really in a financial position to be able to do that right now. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 1 hour in the VIP room sampling your device so that I can see how it gets on. Anyway, they then met investors at the event. They took on investment and they've grown. And that brand is now called Sensate.
Yeah.
And, so
Beautiful.
that was very early days for them. And that's how I'm like, well, actually, I think this product is fantastic. It was the one device that actually helped me to meditate.
Uh-huh.
I felt like it was a really, really great thing. So I supported them early day. Now they're doing very well. They're
Yeah,
the
they're doing
main
very, very
brands.
well.
And
Yeah,
I'm not claiming anything towards of how they've grown, other than, I believed in their brand. It's a great product, so people wanted to buy it. I put them in a place at the time so that more people could see it, and obviously it was one of the 1% things that helped them. And I like to do that. I like to do that. In fact,
yeah.
I'm trying
That's
to
your
get.
summit is about that, like bringing new technologies, putting them in front of the public, making people try, and informing people. And the big news I got from you when I met you at the longevity summit in West Palm Beach was I'm coming to the United States, and I was just like, holy smoke, this is interesting. This is very cool. So are you coming?
Yeah. So I went to A4M in December last year,
Mhm.
and I heard this is where Ben Greenfield and Dave Asprey used to go to find out the new things for the year. This is what someone whispered to me. So I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm going to have to go to this A4M thing. So I went, and the US, I hadn't really been in the US properly since, before the pandemic. So my connections were still digital, a lot of them. But, I was walking around the show, and some people said, "Oh, you're Tim Biohacker. Nice to meet you," and whatnot. And then other brands would say, "What do you do?" And I said, "I run the Health Optimization Summit." And the answer that I must have had 30 plus times was, this is the event we've been told we should go to.
that's it.
When are you coming to America? So, Isabel, my colleague and our COO, she was walking around the show as well separately, and she kept on hearing the same thing. And later on, I was like, this is a really funny thing that people know who we are. I can't believe how much brand IP we have here. It was like, should we do one in the US? Yeah, why not? So we decided to do it. So that's happening April 12th and 13th at Palmer's Event Center in Austin, Texas,
Austin,
which I'm
Texas.
very
Yeah,
excited
save the
about.
date.
Yeah, we're three-quarters sold out already on Expo floor
Whoa.
space. So that was within 2 months of us announcing the event.
Wow.
So that's pretty awesome. So I'm very happy about that. And yeah, we've got a fantastic lineup, which at the moment includes Dr. Josh Axe, Gary
Nice.
Brecker, Ben Greenfield, and many others as well.
I'm happy that Ben is joining as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Um, so very promising to be the event of the year next year. We're not gonna miss that for sure.
Mm. It's ruffling a few feathers, unfortunately. I just wish everyone would collaborate, and rising tide lifts all boats, as they say. Um, I just want to help as many people as I can,
Yeah.
while
You know,
well,
Jim, this is the thing. I was born in Europe, and I can tell you that I have the same mentality as you. I like communities. I like joining forces and putting all the strength together.
mm,
Unfortunately, in North America, and especially in the United States, where I live now, I can tell you that everybody is a competitor, and it starts from there. And it's competition, competition, competition. That all it counts. And unfortunately, yeah, you were expecting everybody to be on board with you and do some things like all together. I'm
mm.
not very surprised.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
Yeah, that's fine.
This is one of the things I really appreciate about Gary Brecker and JJ Virgin and many other people who I can't list off right now, but is that they don't care about politics. They care about
Correct.
helping as many people as possible. And Gary said to me when I first met him, he was like, "Dude, I'm happy to help you in any way I can because I believe in your mission. Thank
Like,
you for what you do." And when I first met JJ, I said to her, I'd love to work with you. And she said, I run Mindshare Collaboration because we believe in collaborating with everyone and we don't believe in competition. And I said, this is exactly the way that I am as well. So, if we all club together, this space would be much more powerful than Big Pharma, and
yeah,
we would help them lose their grip, or at least get them to integrate what we do properly as well. So,
I agree.
medical world that saves lives, biohacking that helps longevity, and chronic health issues, we could all come together. But unfortunately, not everyone sees it in that
No,
light
no.
yet.
And on that topic, you know what is one of the interesting point that is happening these days is Brian Johnson. When you think about what Brian has made for biohacking in general, without even considering himself as a biohacker at the beginning. Now he's proud to be a biohacker, but when he started, I do remember asking him, and he said, "I'm not a biohacker. It's not biohacking." Now it's like is a biohacker. But fortunately, because Brian is popular and is everywhere, the word biohacking is getting out there faster. This is the great thing about that.
Mm.
What he's doing is questionable. We have all an opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to chime in on this. I mean,
Yeah.
I am very happy with everyone having different opinions and different routes to health. Not got a problem with this at all. I don't like that he has the do not die as
Yes.
his brand because, as we know in psychology, and I have 20 plus years in it, negation is not good. Don't think of a blue tree. You have
Right.
to think of blue tree to not think of a blue tree. So don't talk about what you don't want. Talk about what you do want. And I think this is where Dave Asprey has it right. He wants to live to 180. That I don't think that's personally achievable, but I mean, it's a good mindset to be at.
Yep.
Really aim for the stars, you'll hit the moon. But to do not die. I mean, I think, and I was discussing this yesterday with a speaker from one of the events I was at. If you're always thinking, do not die, do not die, do not die, do not die, you're in a war zone. And what does that do for your stress levels and your longevity? It's not the right approach. So I appreciate what he does. I appreciate some of the things that he's trying out, like Ben Greenfield, for instance. And I
Hmm.
love Ben.
Yeah. Cool
Um,
guy.
he is extreme, very
Hmm.
extreme with some things.
Yeah.
And we need people that push boundaries and try the extreme stuff because a lot of us are chicken shit to not try that. So I appreciate it. And Brian Johnson, I think of in the same light as in terms of extreme stuff. However, the applications such as being plant-based and not including meat and avoiding the sun completely, so he looks like a vampire, um, I don't think that's the right message to be getting out. And I think it works for him, but I don't
Correct.
think it
That's the
works for
thing.
everyone
Works
else.
for him. Everything
Yeah.
is designed around his personality and his genetics and everything. Yeah.
And that's where I think Dave uh, has it perfectly, or almost perfectly, with the bulletproof diet. I think still today the bulletproof diet is the best diet out there,
Yeah.
along with paleo. Depending on your metabolic type, I think high fat or moderate fat or whatnot is probably more appropriate for me, along with higher protein. But the point is the diet to reduce the anti-nutrients, increase the proteins, and make sure that you've got a well-rounded diet, I think still fits today. And that's my favorite diet of all, with the exception of the bulletproof coffee these days, because it's just too much fat for me.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Brian has it that he's just too plant-based. And anyone that has a 100%
100%.
sleep score for several months in a row, well, and this isn't a dig at Brian at all. This is just how my mind works, and this is what really helped curate my content. Was a guy goes to the doctor, and he says, "Doctor, I want to live forever." And the doctor replies, "Okay, do you drink?" And he says, "No." "Do you smoke?" He says, "No." "Do you have unprotected sex?" He said, "No." "Do you eat any meat?" "No." "Okay. Why do you want to live forever?" The point is, you know, if you're sleeping 100% 4 months in a row, let's be honest, what are you doing? Like, you
Yeah.
are stressed about not dying, and it's too extreme. So I think, there's an element of, I actually think the sweet spot, there's a sweet spot
The
where
balance.
you're living optimally, you're
Yeah.
sleeping optimally, you're living optimally.
Right.
and I
Yeah.
feel like it's not quite right in
Yeah, I agree. When do you live? That's a question. Like, if you don't take the time to live, there is no purpose of being a biohacker and trying to optimize your life.
and
Eh,
again, Dave said this well once. This many years ago, I heard him say this, something along these lines. And it's like, I biohack so I can do all these things.
eh, yeah.
If you
Yep.
do nothing, you're going to get ill very quickly, and if you do everything, you're not going to enjoy life. And if you figure out what you do want and then optimize it, for instance, when I'm in the city, I use red light device. Sometimes I use sad lighting. I definitely use full spectrum non-flicker LED lights at home. I have air filters, but when I'm in nature, I don't need any of that stuff. So it's like I do this biohacking to reverse the damage technology is doing to our
Yeah.
lives, so I can sustain a life in London, or be on the beach half of the year. So yeah,
Yeah. How long do you think you're gonna live?
I am happy with anything above 82, to be quite honest.
that's that's a great answer.
Um, my family average is 82, pretty much my grandfather and my grandmother's, the full lot. And my ego doesn't need me to live forever, because if everyone wanted to live forever, we would have a very full planet. There'd be no room for future generations, and it would not be a good place. So
No. And
with the
imagine the ego fights about all these people because the more you get older, the more your ego high, seems to be growing in the wrong direction for many people. So it's not going to be a livable planet.
I want health and lifespan. I
Yeah.
don't need to live forever. And if I hit 85, I will be eternally grateful.
Is that true? That's interesting because you know what? For me, Tim, I would say above 120 because the average, normally the biological possibility of our cells is 135. This is how we are designed. Well,
Mm.
82, it's because of our society and the stress that our society is bringing on us and the food and everything. But humans are designed to be living up to 130. So as a biohacker, I would guess like, oh, you should get above the 120.
Mm. I don't need that. I
You
don't
don't
need that.
need that.
I'm very happy with living
Love
an
it.
amazing, happy, love full life, healthy, having energy to play with my potential future kids, and creating a legacy that helps people for generations. I'm very happy with this. And to pass the baton on to my kids, onto the grandkids, and make sure that the genes are carried on, but more optimally than mine were, because I didn't know what I needed to know as early as I needed to know it. Which is
Interesting.
why bringing up my son or my daughter will be done more optimally than it was for me, just because my parents didn't have the knowledge that I have. So 85 is good with me. If I make it above that, I'm not going to complain. But I don't, like whenever you see these movies like Highlander, or any
Oh,
of these movies, no, it gets to the point where they're like, I've had enough.
yeah.
you know,
Most of them, they're like that. Yeah, I have
how much
enough.
more of this do I need? And if you're old and decrepit at 120, 130, and let's be honest, we're not going to be like we are now.
No, that's the thing. It's true.
It's going
Yeah.
to be frustrating, and you can carry on reading books and listening to Jordan Peterson and all this stuff for forever and a day, and becoming smarter and smarter and smarter. But really, without the vibrance and the youthful
Of life.
energy.
Yeah. And energy and being able to move around. What's your
Yeah.
purpose then?
Sorry,
Your purpose.
what's my
Your life
purpose?
is on purpose. It's
Oh, I
like
see.
definitely oriented to that. You're on ikigai. So what is it by definition?
It's a very okay. So my purpose, I would say, is to live a healthy, happy life, to get through any of my issues, childhood wounds and things like that, to operate as an amazing human would do, but also to leave the world in a better place. And now I had a moment. I was doing a journey, and a journey, and I reached a level of connectedness to the universe and to God, a God, that I'd never reached before. And I was in tears thanking him for the previous year's lesson from my very difficult breakup, from a very toxic relationship I was in. And I was thanking him for the experience because it made me a better human. It made me more loving and caring, because I was broken to the point of having to build myself back up again. And I realized in this moment that we're all connected to a God, not one particular God. I believe that there is one, not hundreds, and everyone thinks that theirs is right. I think we're connected to a higher power. And I believed in that moment that my true purpose was to serve, to leave the world a better place, not just to milk it for everything I could. And for me, that is trying to educate people to live a healthier, happier life with less war, with more happiness, with more love, and more connectedness. And that's really what I think my purpose is. My my method of doing that is now via the Health Optimization Summit, which really is my passion. It's been a labor of love for many years. Yes, it does make a profit and it does fuel my life, and I'm very grateful for that. But really, the goal is to help as many people as possible. The secondary goal is to be able to sustain my team and my life
Mhm.
as well. So, yeah, my purpose is really along the lines of that. Where I am as a man, as a result of growing up and having these experiences, is, I really want to create a family now. I'm ready to be a father. I hadn't been until I had gone through the stuff I've gone through. So, I'm very grateful, and my purpose is that. That's why I don't need to live more than 85. But
Yeah, you have to be ready to step into the family life anyway, and I think that you attract when you are ready, not before. Otherwise,
mm,
it's just like a law of some things out there that makes relationship breaks up and things like that. So um, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, since I know you, I really like you way more now than a few years ago. But everyone is like that, and, this is it, And we spoke, and we connected. And when you start learning about people the way they are, and you understand where they're coming from, this is how you love them, and you appreciate them, and this is a growing process. So uh, overall, I'm super happy that you're coming to our country. It is just like it was so meant to be, and it was so due to be happening here. So that's great, and you're doing great stuff. You you have a great reputation. One of the things that you've just said that I want to go back on it was about you want to create a legacy. It's interesting because on my side, I don't want to create a legacy. I'm like you. I want to start a movement that people will remember,
mm,
but I don't care if they remember my name.
yeah. Can I just, there's 2 points I'd just like to add in here. So, first of
Please.
all, thank you very much for your compliment about liking me more than you did before. That's quite funny. I appreciate your candor. I get this a lot. People, when they don't know me, they think I'm an arrogant prick. But in fact, I'm just quite protective of my energy and
Yeah.
don't necessarily give too much out because, when I'm in
Yep.
London, I get stopped 3, 4, 5 times a day. And it's like you never know when it's going to, when you're going to be stopped. And while I love that because it tells me I'm helping people, it can become quite a lot. And when you're at a conference, you're stopped every 100 feet and you don't really get time to yourself. So it's really difficult to share your energy and open up. And there's not much left for me. So I've always been this reserved English guy type, stand back and look around and observe the room. And then when you get to know someone and you see their energy and you share energy, you kind of open up. And I had a story once of a friend of mine from London who runs a clinic. She said, "Oh, I was hanging out with such and such yesterday." And she said, "Do you like Tim?" And she said, "Yeah, I love Tim. He's a very close friend of mine. We've done a lot together." And she said, "Oh, why do you say that?" And she said, "Well, he just doesn't give me any time and he just seems closed off and he seems a bit arrogant." Anyway, so my friend told me about this. And I said, "Yeah, do you know what it is? Is because this person always messages me and asks me for something. Never, how are
Wow.
you? Never anything." I'm
Awesome.
like, so, this is why there's two different versions of me.
Yeah.
So when, hopefully people that are watching this get, kind of see
Yeah.
that my method behind the madness. Um, and the other point was legacy.
Uh-huh.
Now, the Health Optimization Summit is growing. I love it. I really do love it. And I want it to be the Health Optimization Summit. I don't want it to be the Tim Show. And in fact, I'd rather not have to speak on stage and I'd rather not have to do podcasts and things like that. I would love to just build in the background and focus my energy. However, at the moment, I am the vehicle for growing the brand and growing the movement and
Yeah.
helping the conference go. There will be a time where I'm step into the background and not doing such front appearances. Unlike, some of my, let's say, some of my colleagues, some people I know need to be on stage for their self-worth, and I don't need to. I do it because I feel like it's the right thing to do at the moment. And I really hope that the brand outgrows me, not because of a financial thing, but because it means it's connecting and helping more people in this mindset.
I agree.
So really, like you, I align with you on that, where I say,
Yeah.
and I truly mean this. Anyone that's sitting there saying, "Yeah, right, he's on stage," I really don't mind if I don't get noticed in the street. I really don't mind if I'm not on stage.
Yeah.
Again, really don't mind if I don't do podcasts. But really, like I was speaking to a speaker yesterday as we're walking around Toronto after an event, and I said, "How are you positioning yourself? Like, how are you positioning yourself? How do I know that I should have you on my stage over any one of the other speakers?"
Mhm.
And he said, "Well, I've got this amazing message." And I was like, "Okay, what is that message?" And he told me, and I was like, "You have a responsibility because it's such a good message. You have a responsibility to position yourself well so that people know how much you can help them. And by you not getting your positioning right, you are not helping the world. And your job, what he really wants is to help the world. So I was like, you being scared of positioning yourself better and spending time and energy on your positioning is not helping the world. You owe it to them. Make it
I
happen.
love it.
Right. And I feel the same. I
Yeah.
truly feel the same. Like every time someone says, Tim, can you spend a few minutes on camera at a show? Like actually,
Yeah.
like, like at the West Palm Beach one,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to do this, but I feel like I should do it because I owe it to people to help spread the message. So
Yeah.
I hope, I understand your thing about legacy, and it's not from an egoic point of view. It's really, truly is because I don't want half people to go through the same shit that I went through.
Yeah. It's very noble, and it's more than it's humble, and at the same time, people need to get that perception of what you just said, and think, because the appearance of Tim is someone cold and sophisticated, difficult to approach, and you're not. You're absolutely the contrary of that. So it's an interesting way when people get into your closer space. To go back to the judgment on that, someone
Mm.
came to me before we met, like maybe a year before, and she came to me and she goes like, you know that Tim is coming to United States? And I go like, Tim Gray? And I go like, yeah. And she goes like, yes. And I go like, wow, that's a good news. And she turns to me and she goes like, I thought you didn't like him. And I go like, why? Why? Who said that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Thanks
yeah, it
for
was
sharing.
was funny for me to have that, like, people judge for you or try to vehiculate information that you don't even know where they're coming from, and they don't spend the time. Like, everybody's judging Dave Asprey the same way, badly or in the good way. But there's always an opinion on everyone, and we cannot go against that.
Well, I think, if yeah, everyone has an opinion on something, and usually it's people that judge the most, and people that judge themselves most, or don't accept themselves enough. And I have nothing but love for Dave, and all the other guys, whether they're competitors or not, because I appreciate them for what they've done. I mean, for instance, for Dave, massive respect for Dave.
Uh-huh.
For creating the biohacking space, massive respect for him, and I'm so grateful for everything he's done for the space. And the same with Brian Johnson. I'm very grateful for what he's done for the space,
Yes,
and it's growing. Doesn't mean that everyone gets it right 100% of the time, even though perhaps their egos might like them to think that they are, and that gives them conviction about what they talk about, so that people believe them more. So, I kind of get that. But the thing is, the bigger you get, the more hate you get. I mean, people hate Elon Musk, for various
that's true.
reasons, and other people love Elon Musk. Some people like RFK, and other people hate RFK. There's always two camps to everything.
Yeah,
Carnivores laugh at vegans, and vegans hate on carnivores. I mean, come on, let's be honest. It's like it's always the way. So, and one thing that I battled with, psychologically speaking, for quite some time was, as my Instagram grew, I got more and more hate, especially
of
from
course.
vegans,
Yeah,
actually. And saying I was an effeminate man child, and like that I was damaging the world, and I was full of toxic information, and blah blah blah. The thing is when you're confident about who you are, it doesn't really affect you anymore. But it really was quite heavy for quite a while, and it was actually quite, not depressing, but difficult time. So I can only imagine what it's like with Dave or some of the other guys,
sure. Yeah,
because they're 10 times bigger than me in terms of public awareness.
yeah.
So massive respect to them to be able to put up with it, and it would affect you in some way.
Yeah, that's a bit the mission that you choose when you decide to be public and to go public and to create this type of, let's call it, legacy. You have to be in front of all these things and accept that it's going to be hard. It's going to be a harsh world where people are going to be nasty,
Mm.
because it's envy and jealousy, and our society is mainly based on the binary hate or love, and this is it. We're there. It's human at the end of the day.
The funny thing is it's like choosing my biohacks. It's a risk analysis, and I actually have a
So,
monthly task, and I have Jordan Peterson for thank for this one from one of his reels. It's like, decide what you want, decide what you have to do to get it, and decide if it's worth the risk. Every time. And it's the same with public facing. I put out a piece of content about veganism, and and it works for some people. It doesn't work for most people, but whatever.
right.
and I'm like, I'm going to get a day of hate. Am I willing to pay worth? Is it worth the risk? Yes. And if I say no on that day because I'm feeling a bit, whatever, it's been a tough day, then I delay it. And it's the same with any biohack. It's the same with anything. And I went on one stage once upon a time, and it was the wrong crowd, and I didn't know the risk. I just heard that it was a big podcast. I had to be on live one, and I got booed off the stage for being a posh, privileged twat
What?
that blew blocking glasses on stage, and I basically got booed off. And as I left the event, this is a few years ago now,
That,
as I walked down the road, someone went, "Oh, Tim, Tim, Tim." I was like, "Yeah," and then they went, "F off," and stuck their fingers up. So the point is that it was the wrong audience. For
yeah.
them, it's this privileged kid that they didn't know that I'd been ill. They didn't know that I was doing it because I was navigating my way out of health. I did get a few good follows from it and said, "Tim, we really feel for you." But the point is like, is it worth the risk? Yes, and I would do it again. The difference is I would
Yeah.
assess
Yeah.
the podcast a little bit better beforehand, and I thank my team for that one.
But anyway, life is about is a learning process, so it doesn't matter. Like even if you do the three assessments you said, there's going to be moments that you're going to still be wrong, and you're going to have to learn from the failure, and that's fine. That's fine. So then he goes to your point. Yeah, when you have a fulfilled life up to 85, you have enough if you go intense like that, for sure. I
Mm.
agree. Thank you, Tim. It was a great pleasure having you. We're so happy to have you on the magazine. We're going to route people to visit your Instagram page because this is where we see you the most
Yeah,
active, I guess.
yeah. At Tim Biohacker on Instagram, or healthsummit.com on
For the summit.
for the website for the conference, and that's Health Optimization Summit US or Health Optimization Summit London. US is April 12th to 13th in Austin, and London is September 13th to 14th.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Tim. It was a great pleasure
Thank
having you.